Welcome to the Building Web3 Podcast today. I'm my good friend, Andy, your friend, Andy, from the channel called Your Friend Andy. I feel like I said that a lot right in the intros. Andy, real quick, how did you get into this Web3 world? How did you get into crypto?
First, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for having me. Crypto came to me. I first got introduced to Bitcoin in 2012, 2013, when I was building computers and had computer building friends who were mining this magical internet money and selling it each week. And I was like, that sounds like a scam or something. So I ignored it largely until 2014. I got caught up in the bug of passive income, and I got introduced to mining. So I built my first ever mining rig in 2014. Had very minimal success trying to figure all that out, but it kind of was a little spark in my head, I guess, from that point forward. And coming into late 2016, early 2017, crypto just kept coming back. I kept seeing it in the news and people talking about it. So I said, there must be something here. So I started investigating it, dipped my toes in a little bit, made so many mistakes from 2017 going into 2018, lost tons of money. But whereas most people lost the money and couldn't figure it out and said, okay, I'm never doing that again, that was obviously a mistake. I saw that there was something here. There was opportunity, at the very minimum, opportunity to create wealth. But also I just saw that this was the underpinnings of this next financial revolution. So I dug in deep. 2018 was a year I basically went all in on crypto. And ever since then, it has become more and more of my daily full-time life and job, to where now I'm a full-time YouTube creator. I'm full-time in crypto. I've left the regular traditional world behind at this stage. I'm fully committed.
You're bought in, so to speak. Okay, so you've had the very common experience of losing almost all of your money in crypto, and you're like, you know what? Even though I did that, I still think that there's a there. So talk to us a little bit about one, for people that haven't maybe done the crazy DeFi things and lost all their money in speculative pools. Talk to us a little bit about how you recommend people get started in crypto. Usually we have a very advanced audience, but let's imagine someone just stumbled upon this podcast. What kind of things do you think are interesting to look at these days?
Crypto is incredibly overwhelming, especially if you're a new person. You're probably going to get introduced to crypto with meme coins or some other kind of hot crypto topic or something, or maybe even you're going to get pulled back into the world. You're going to get pulled into the world of crypto by things that were already hot in previous cycles. This cycle so far, we've seen a lot of the old coins like XRP and Doge has had another resurgence and stuff. Stuff that had its heyday in the previous cycle. Tron has had a resurgent this cycle because it's familiar. It's people have already heard about it. Maybe you didn't get involved last time, but maybe this time I remember hearing about that XRP thing, so I'm going to jump into it. And we've definitely seen that has what has occurred. So those are kind of the ways you get introduced to it, either older coins or meme coins or something. And then you very quickly start diving into something because you want to make all this money, and you can get overwhelmed very quickly. But I would encourage anyone who's first starting out to maybe take a step back and go and ask yourself, even why am I doing this? Is it just to make money? And if that's the question, well, then, you can investigate that. There's lots of avenues to make money in crypto. And if you're only doing the things that you see are the most popular and most talked about, those are sometimes the least likely to actually make you the money in the space. But if it's for long-term investing, that's a whole different avenue. And it's boring and everyone says it, but the root of all this is get educated, watch videos, listen to podcasts, read books, learn what this whole space is even about before you first take your first couple baby steps, which you should be doing baby steps, and just bite off what you can chew. Focus on one area. Crypto is broad. Web3 is broad. There's many narratives going into this cycle. There's the overall Bitcoin narrative, and will it be our strategic reserve currency? Will it be a world reserve currency? Is it going to get this massive institutional adoption? And then there's AI, which doesn't seem to be dying anytime soon. Doesn't seem to be a fad. There's a million plays around AI. And there's this whole other thing that I've been super interested in called DePIN. Like there's all these meme coins. There's crypto gaming. There's all these narratives and storylines happening and trends in crypto. And any one of them could make you unbelievable life-changing wealth. But the question you first ask is like, which one am I attracted to? Why do I see myself attracted to that? And then what avenues can I explore within that singular path? So taking it down to the base level, investigate there, and then broaden your horizon a little bit from there. Otherwise, you will drown in it. You will make every mistake fathomable. You'll get burned, and you won't want to repeat.
Yeah, let's take some examples here, because it's crypto. There's so much going on, and it can often be confusing. People can go back to like our Pendle episode, where you're now like thinking about like interest rate swaps practically, and like you can get pretty deep, complex. Let's start with something like DePIN, because you brought up DePIN. Are you talking about like Helium and HiveMapper? Like what kind of strategies? Let's say somebody's really interested in passive income, because I know you focus a lot on passive income. Talk to us a little bit about like what exists if we just to take a vertical like DePIN as an example.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what DePIN is, it stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. And the easy way to describe it is, Helium. Helium's a great, it's kind of one of the OG DePINs before DePIN was even a term that anybody used or knew or was created. But essentially, now Helium has transitioned from those early days to what they do now. But I think their current model is a great explanation for what DePIN is and why there's opportunity here. So Helium wants to provide a mobile 5G service to cell phones all around the world. Right now, I think they're only in the United States. And they partnered with T-Mobile to make that happen. So they've got traditional towers. But ultimately, they want to provide their own infrastructure, their own cell towers all over the place. But building your own cell phone towers from scratch, is an incredibly expensive prospect. So instead of doing this huge outlay of capital, they took some notes from the rule book that Uber wrote, which is instead of buying all the taxi cabs and providing to drivers, just people bring their own cars. We provide the app that connects everybody. They provide their cars. We pay them. Everybody wins. So with Helium, you buy a hotspot, which is a device you plug into your home internet connection. It then broadcasts your home internet to any Helium mobile devices that are going by. And you are essentially becoming a cell phone tower at your home or location. You bought the device. You fronted that capital. You're helping the network out. So you get rewarded with tokens. And there's a total, whole world of these. Ones I really like are GeoNet or DABA. Some others on my list, Demo, Aether, HiveMapper is one you mentioned. And that's just like barely scratching the surface. But essentially, you run some kind of device or software or something that supports this project or this company, build some of that infrastructure that people who are utilizing their services or products can then get value from. And then you get rewarded and paid for doing this thing for the company with these tokens or rewards. And so far, DePIN has been a huge win. It was a winner through this last bear market because you could buy relatively inexpensive devices that made a disproportionately large rewards at a time when traditional crypto mining stuff wasn't very profitable. And you can do it pretty much anywhere. Most of these are global. They sip power. Like these devices use anywhere from 5 to 20 watts of power. So the same as like your Wi-Fi router typically. You will never notice it on your electricity bill. But some of these have made huge amounts of money. And an example of that is HiveMapper. I love this example. I have a private crypto membership called Sleep Money Club. And in that, one of our members, he was an early adopter of HiveMapper. He was just running this dash cam in his car that captured images, and they do mapping with it, and then they pay you in their token as you do this. And he was running it for a year or something before it really caught fire and took off. And he paid for his entire wedding with just the rewards from his one single $300 camera he ran in his car. He paid for his entire wedding with that one device. And there's tons of other examples of that, of these devices just make lots of money, especially if you have a long-term mindset. You do it early on, you accumulate over time, and then you wait for the bull market, which we're in right now, and things to pop off and to make those like huge gains.
Yeah, HiveMapper is a very interesting example. People can go back to our HiveMapper episode, but like a lot of people do already want a camera in their car and for like insurance purposes. If people
Mhm.
like get into an accident, it's like, okay, well now like we have this thing, you just need to put it in your car. You already somewhat wanted it for some insurance purposes, and then you're getting rewarded from it. That's crazy to hear that they were able to do that with Honey. Okay, so we've gone over DePIN, so maybe that's a good entry point. I'd always heard that physical infrastructure is hard, so it's one of the, I think it still has its heyday. I don't know where you think like long term where DePIN will be, but I still don't think it's hit its like full form in terms of like token appreciation, things of that nature.
Oh, no, certainly not. I think DePIN is going to change the world. I think DePIN is going to, just like when, Uber and these early tech startups did things differently than what the status quo was before that, changed the entire world and changed the game. And now all tech startups and stuff, they build the app and then everybody else does all the work effectively. DePIN is the next evolution of that in my mind. Using Web3 and tokens and crypto to kind of anchor it all and reward, and then kind of chasing all these different exciting avenues, everything from HiveMapper, which is mapping data, Demo, which is car data, Helium, which is mobile data, GeoNet, which is GNSS or GPS positioning data. Dab is another one I'm really excited about. That's sharing Wi-Fi. There's like a litany of purposes you can do. And all of them have their own marketplaces of demand almost inbuilt into them. And so I think if it's not this cycle, it's certainly going to start this cycle, and then next cycle we might see the full maturity of it. But it's going to get so big, it's going to be people are going to be unable to ignore it. It's going to change the game, and then companies just going forward. I'm already watching it happen this time, where traditional Web2 companies are dipping their toes into this because they're like, this is a cheat code to building our business and building our infrastructure out. Because I keep watching Web3 project and company after Web3 project build networks that are many multitudes larger than their Web2 equivalents by utilizing this DePIN model. So I think everybody's going to be wanting to build this way with this type of stuff in the future. Just might take a little while to get there.
Yeah, and just people can go back to the HiveMapper episode. And sorry if it sounds like I'm shilling HiveMapper too hard, but like I used to work in mapping, so I know this problem is like really big, and it's really hard to get like on the ground maps. So I'm very impressed by what they did there. So you mentioned mining earlier, and you were saying like some people turned to DePIN because mining wasn't as profitable. Talk to us about like the current state of mining. Are you still bullish on that sector? And just kind of give an overview of what you see out there.
Yeah, and to be clear, even when it wasn't so profitable, I was still extremely bullish on mining because my mining strategy, which I can kind of outline, is largely based around like I want to mine and hold whatever I'm mining. So I'm not doing it for the daily profitability. Never doing that. I'm doing it for the profitability a few years from now. So I started mining Bitcoin a little over 2.5 years ago now. And from day one of doing that, the goal was accumulate Bitcoin, hold it in a wallet, wait for the next bull run. Well, 2.5 years later, here we are. We're in the bull run. I hope it's just getting started. We'll see what actually happens in 2025 here. But long-term mindset is kind of the game changer when it comes to mining. Also, speculative mining. There's lots of things that I've mined that were fresh launched, altcoins, various projects. When they first launched, before they ever hit an exchange, I've been mining them for several months before they even hit an exchange in the first place and get a price attached to them. There's a lot of power in that. If the technology is interesting, if there's a lot of hype or excitement around it, it takes off and the price does well, you can have many multiples. One of my wins that I mined in this bear market was Caspa. I mined it when it was first launched. I mined it for 2 or 3 months before it ever hit its first exchange. From the point in which I was mining to right now, I don't know, I'm up like 20,000%, 30,000%, just from the base cost of the electricity to now. So mining in my mind is this multiplier. I've literally made hundreds of thousands of dollars with altcoins and if you put it all together with the Bitcoin, all that $1 million+ through mining. I think it's if you are a tinkerer, you're someone who's more technologically inclined, or you're willing to learn, and you are willing to spend time in the trenches digging through possibilities and doing some of this more speculative stuff instead of chasing daily profits, chasing what could be profits, treating it like you're, the way I treat my entire crypto investing, which is like a venture capitalist, lots of plays here and there. you can do very well for yourself. And there's very few places in crypto that I've found like that, other than buying pre-sales and stuff we get in before price attribution. But like the ability to get in before price discovery and earning thousands or tens of thousands of tokens or coins a day minus your electricity cost. It's a really unique advantage. But as far as like this year, like Bitcoin mining is very profitable right now because Bitcoin, is close to 100,000 as we record this. A lot of altcoin mining has gained profitability again. Lots of the big machines that mine things like Doge are extremely profitable right now, and I suspect will only get more so as we have those hopefully hit new all-time highs this year. So mining is exciting in a bear market because of opportunities, but it's exciting right now because everything's making money again.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you mentioned mining because, I guess I'm not as into the mining space. And I think many of our listeners would be like, mining, like, yeah, like, of course there's Bitcoin, but like most people think about like proof of stake where they're like, oh, is he actually talking about mining or is he talking about like proof of stake? So you're actually talking about proof of work blockchains. And are those still in vogue, or are these largely like previous projects that are now coming back to like fruition?
I mean, I might be the minority here, maybe on your podcast, your audience, I might be the minority here, but I prefer proof of work to proof of stake. I think it's more egalitarian. I think it's more fair. Doesn't reward the person with the biggest bag who's been accumulating. It rewards the person who's willing to either get in early or who accumulates hash rate. But even then, you aren't actually controlling the outcome. You don't have, in most cases, you don't have like voting power. You can't control the direction the blockchain goes. You can only control how high the difficulty and how hard it gets to mine goes. But there's tons of new proof of work mineable coins launched all the time. The ones I'm mining right now, so I have the most machines on Bitcoin. I have the second most machines on Caspa, which Caspa is only 2.5, 3 years, two years old now. I'm mining Doge right now, which is not new, but profitability, it keeps going up. I'm mining a pretty new one called Alephium. Theirs is called Proof of Less Work.
Proof of Less Work. We've interviewed them. People can go.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I've got a handful of other smaller ones that are speculative plays and stuff. But no, Proof of Work is still alive and well. It's maybe not as in vogue as it once was from a overall collective, but I think that that's like the rest of the markets. It's cyclical. Once we get into the full on alt season this year, I hope, and some of these proof of works are just printing money. Well, then guess what? Everybody loves proof of work again and wants to buy the miners, and it happens every cycle.
Yeah, it's so funny because the only time I get exposed to like a lot of miners, we've done a few mining episodes here, but when I go back to like Bitcoin Nashville as an example, I'm like, man, there's a lot of miners in here. So talk to us about like, let's say like people are like me. I wouldn't call myself a proof of stake maxi, but I would say I spend most of my time in proof of stake blockchains. Talk to them a little bit about like how they could get involved in mining, like a Casper or like a Alephium.
So, I mean, you can do it yourself. That's one of the beautiful things. You can buy a machine that you, some of these, it's tough to plug into your house because they're very powerful. And I can talk a little bit about that, but some of the smaller ones or the newer ones, you can buy lower power machines, but you can buy a little box you plug into the wall, and then it magically starts printing money like the Federal Reserve money printers, but you have your own. And you don't really get it until you buy one of these things. You plug it in, you put your wallet address in there, and then like the very next day when the first payout happens, it hits your wallet and you go, oh, there's your aha moment. When you see the payout, because you're literally creating the new minted coins on the chain as the chain gets pushed forward with your device and that hash power. So you can get involved by deciding which ones you're the most excited about or what your strategy is. And it can be something like you set up a mining shed at home, or you have a dedicated space in your garage that has the appropriate power and way to deal with the heat and noise. Or you can get involved by hosting it somewhere, which is what I do with a lot of my big machines, because at most residential houses, you don't want to run a 20 plus machines, much less one machine that consumes 3,500 watts of power that's output as heat, which for those who don't know what that means, that's more than 2 space heaters. One single space heater you're allowed to plug into a single outlet in the US maxes out about 1,500 watts. So this is more than 2 of those on full blast 24/7, and they make 75 to 80 decibels of noise, which is ear splitting. It's you cannot live in a house that has it going on. There are methods to make them quieter. So you have to have a way to deal with the heat, to deal with the, it requires 220 volt power. Smaller ones are the exception. You can run those on 110. But you have to have some kind of consideration around that type of stuff. You can run them at home, or you can host them. I use a company called Musk Miners. I buy my machines through them. They put them at these big facilities where they have people who deal with all that stuff. And the electricity rate is also less than that of my house, because a lot of people in the US, their electricity rates, it's not the most profitable thing to run miners at home. However, there's also some new things coming out, there's this thing called the bit chimney, and I actually just got one of these, and it's taking a miner, one of these really powerful ones, quieting it down, reducing it to run on 110 volt power, so you don't need 220, and uses it as a space heater in your house. You set the temperature, and it just heats up the space. So if you're in a winter location, you use space heaters already. You get some of that money back as Bitcoin. So some really novel ways you can also get involved that give you some added benefit, like using the heat. There's pool heaters now. There's water heaters at Bitcoin mine. There's all kinds of cool stuff like that. Or if you want to get into altcoin mining and stuff, if you have a gaming PC at home, a pretty powerful one with a nice new GPU, you can just spin up whatever mining thing you want and play around with it and start earning stuff. Some people can earn a decent little bag of a brand new coin if you're speculatively mining using just their gaming PC at home. Lots of ways to do it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I remember I got into Bitcoin in 2012, but unfortunately I'm not rich. But back in the day, you could do that for Bitcoin itself and actually get good rewards.
With a laptop even.
With a laptop even. Yeah. So we've gone over DePINs, we've gone over mining. To dabble in the DeFi space at all, what other kind of spaces are you relatively bullish on?
My channel and my content focuses a lot around crypto passive income, and that kind of fits into mining, DePIN devices, nodes, and then staking. And there's some other category like airdrops and some other things too.
Yeah.
But staking is now a pretty big part of my overall strategy, and nodes have always been a big part of my overall strategy.
Let's go into nodes, because I think this is very common in the industry. People are like, "Oh, we've got a node sale coming up," and everyone's like, node sale," or at least I am sometimes. I'm like, boring node sale. But talk to us. Give me the bull case on nodes, and should we be running them, and then how do we do it if we like them?
The world of nodes is just as big as the world of mining or anything else. And there's validator nodes, like you can run an Ethereum validator node. You can earn 5% a year. It costs, it's required to stake 32 Ethereum, which can be cost prohibitive for a lot of people, because that's over almost 100 grand at this point, I think, or something like that. There's that end of things. Solana validators are even more pricey. And some of these proof of stake, big L1s, you can run validators, you can earn a percentage, but at huge cost getting into it and huge requirements in terms of like uptime, all this stuff, very important to the operations. Then there's other coins and tokens that they're earlier, so the entry is less than, or the nodes aren't necessarily validating, but they're also doing some kind of function on the network. They're providing storage, they're providing compute, they're providing something that that project, like a good example here is one of my big positions in my portfolio, which is Flux. The nodes aren't doing proof of stake transactions and validation like Ethereum. They are a proof of work chain, but they use nodes to provide their compute infrastructure, because they have a marketplace where you can go on there. You can do AI compute. You can host a website that happens on the node end, and you get rewarded. But the node space is also dangerous because a lot of these node sales and stuff, people know that nodes sell. And so they have things that they call nodes. It's actually just an NFT. It doesn't do anything. And those can be good if you get in early enough and you're strategic about how you exit your position as you get paid out. But I'm personally mostly interested in ones that I call utility nodes that provide some kind of utility to the network or to their services and products that they offer, more analogous to DePIN. But the reality is, if you get into the right time at the right point in the cycle, you can make money with any of them. But I'd be very cautious when you're getting into this space to know what it does, what the requirements are to run it, what their tokenomics are, and how diluted it's going to get once these nodes spin up and start outputting tokens. And then, do you think it has a real lasting use case or any kind of fundamentals that can last beyond a single cycle? And if not, have an exit strategy.
Yeah, and before we get into staking, which I feel like is one of the final ones to talk about, it kind of the overarching thing is like, hey, we need to go deep and like do our research and find out like, hey, which of these projects, like even if we're like, hey, we're bullish on node sales, not all nodes are created equal. Talk to us a little bit about your research project and kind of like, getting in the trenches, locking in, whatever people want to, use the term.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of stuff when it comes to research at this stage is mixed in with gut feeling. I've been around in this space for a while, like you have, and when I look at something, sometimes I get just a good feeling about it, and it seems like it aligns with some of the things I like or not. Sometimes I'm like, no way, and I get that wrong sometimes, but a lot of times it works out in my favor. But it's the basics of fundamentals here. It's like do they have a great team? Is the team even public, or is it an anonymous team? Some people don't mind buying into projects that have or crypto companies that have anonymous teams. I tend to want ones that have public teams, but I do dabble in some that have anonymous teams, and those have worked out well. But just know that there's very little repercussions that can happen on if it fails for those people. So there's less need to make it a success. So that's worth consideration. But like, what is their mission? What are they trying to do? Is it too fanciful? Like, there's some projects that are like, we're going to replace Bitcoin. Like, good luck. Or we're going to change the world. And like, maybe. But like, I like realistic missions. We're gonna get a slice of this compute market out there, this AI market. We're gonna get one little piece of it by doing this really unique set of features or things. That seems more doable. Not we're gonna dethrone Nvidia or something like that. We're gonna dethrone Chat GPT. It's like warning bells are going off whenever people talk so big that they're gonna dethrone one of the giants out there. So is it realistic? Tokenomics is huge. I try to stay pretty far away from heavy VC coins. There's lots of coins that have just massive allocations that go to venture capitalists at ridiculously low prices and valuations. And by the time it's even available to retail, normal people buying it, they're at 50x on their money, and they're just going to dump on you. And so I try to I'm not saying don't get into coins that have any venture capital. Just be real careful about what the percentages are and look into that. Also, when are all the tokens going to be out in circulation, and what does that look like? What are the vesting schedules for these people? Like, how much is going to be out at what time to early investors and the team, and how much does the team get? Just learning a few of the tokenomics 101, and then just does it align with what I see as the trends or narratives for the cycle we're in. There's certainly going to be cryptos out there that don't fit into my neat little buckets that I think are going to do well this cycle, that will do well. And some of my buckets might not even be the ones that actually perform, but at least that is a way for me to gauge whether this thing fits into my overall strategy or not. And if it doesn't, I tend to avoid those just because it's too much noise. There's too much overwhelm. There's too many things to track. And I think a concentrated, more focused approach is helpful to more people.
Yeah, let's get into the buckets that you think will perform well. Obviously, no financial advice, but if we look at early last year, it was like gaming, and then we've gone through many different cycles, but it seems like the AI is really hitting like a fever pitch at this point. If someone looks on like Kaido today, you'll see almost like 45% of conversations on like crypto Twitter are involving some kind of like on-chain AI agent, AI narrative. What buckets do you think are going to really take off?
Yeah, so the biggest one is still Bitcoin. I think that the narrative around Bitcoin is only heating up. We're about to have a changing of the presidential guard here in the U.S. very soon, and our incoming president is the first one we've ever seen that's true. Seems to be on surface truly more crypto friendly. Whether that actually any promises pan out, we'll see once it actually comes into play. But at least on the surface, it seems like there is some pretty big moves that could happen for crypto in general, but especially Bitcoin. Bitcoin strategic reserve being the number one thing, having it on the balance sheet of the United States, and then the United States purchasing it in mass. Will that happen this cycle? No idea. If it would, the price of Bitcoin would 100,000 would look small in comparison if that were to happen. So that's the number one narrative. Number two is got to be AI. I've got a lot of investments across compute projects that are providing infrastructure for AI projects to be built on. GPU resource and all that good stuff. But then I'm also doing a lot of pure play AIs that do everything from generative stuff, chat bots, AI agents, AI marketplaces, development toolkits for building AI. I think if anybody who thinks AI is a fad, I think they are sorely mistaken. It's obvious that AI is going to be a massive part of our future. Will we have a big bubble of it and it'll collapse when we see what the real stuff is? Of course, that's how things work. It's like the dot-com bubble, the early days of the internet. But also, crypto gaming was huge last cycle. I think it's going to be even bigger this cycle. Last cycle was fueled by hype. We didn't have any games that were truly like fun to play and really push the ball forward when it came to gaming. This cycle, we have multiple AAA titles that people are already playing early versions of that are just raving about how fun the gameplay is. The crypto aspect of it is totally secondary. And I don't know if it's going to be this cycle or future ones, but in my estimation, crypto gaming is going to be the single biggest driving force of onboarding of new users into the world of crypto than anything else. Because more people play video games than just about anything else in terms of entertainment on this planet. And if you find the next Fortnite, you start playing the next Fortnite, and it's underpinned by crypto, and you don't even know you're being onboarded into the world of crypto because their token or whatever, the skins are on the blockchain. You don't care about that. You just care, is the game fun? And then as a secondary thing, you have these assets now that you can sell and trade and move from chain to chain. I think crypto gaming is going to bring so many people into the scene, totally unaware they're in the scene, but it's going to bring them nonetheless. And then lastly, DePIN. I'm just really focused on DePIN. I think there's so much opportunity there. It's this last cycle we didn't really have it. This cycle, it's an emergent idea. There's so many possibilities here. As layer ones being built just for DePIN that are already launched or happening this time. Just the passive income opportunities with DePIN is going to be massive. I think we're going to see a huge run up with that one too.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned gaming's definitely a sector I need to look into more. Sometimes I'll host spaces for Mario and those guys, and they talk about gaming. It's like the one space I always ignore. I'm always like, tap raps, like on Tom, like that seemed to be my extent of gaming, but I got to get more into it. For me, I see the mass adoption coming from stable coins. I was really impressed by Stripe's acquisition. I don't know what the specific play is. You're much more in the trenches than I am, and I've got a lot to learn in that respect. But I know we have a limited amount of time. I do want to get into staking and where you see some opportunities there. What kind of staking plays do you feel like it's like, you put your Ethereum in Lido, or are you looking at more like exotic things? Are you looking at restaking? What in the staking sphere do you think is interesting?
Sure. And just one quick note about what we were just talking about. Yeah. If there's one crypto game I'd like you to go check out, and there's quite a few on my list, but just one, check out Off the Grid. That's one I'm very bullish on. It looks incredible. The gameplay is super fun. And that one I think is only getting warmed up. But that's proof to show you kind of where we've gone from the Tapper days to the NFT crabs fighting each other days or whatever to where we are now. So when it comes to staking, I don't do any restaking, although I think that is an interesting play. I like the idea of leveraging, if you're going to talk about restaking on Ethereum, leveraging your ETH node to kind of bootstrap other chains and getting rewarded disproportionately in those other chains. To do that, that's an interesting idea. Most of my staking is going to be projects that align with one of my several buckets that also have a staking element to them. Most of them, it's not always going to be kind of a utility thing. Although one of my top plays that I am staking with is Tempe. They are a decentralized data index, and they have validator nodes. I run several validators, but I also stake all my tokens to my validator. The validators actually do the work of moving the network, doing all the voting and stuff. So that actually is utility. And I earn a reward. In this case, it's like 17%. So it's not huge, but better than Ethereum at 5% or 4.5% of whatever it's today. But then there's some other really fascinating ones that is a kind of a crossover from our last topic of gaming. Persona. Persona has NFTs. It's a really great looking NFT collection. And I think NFTs, it might also be a controversial topic, but I think NFTs will come back, but they're just going to come back not in the novelty collector. I just bought a JPEG kind of a thing, but they have to have some kind of utility or feature set or lore or story or narrative around it to succeed this cycle. But one of them is Persona. There's some ex-Ubisoft developers behind this one. and you can stake your Persona NFTs and earn their gaming token, which is called Unagi or Una. Unagi Studios is the gaming studio behind this, and they've already launched 2 mobile games. They have like 2 more or so on the way that the tokens can be utilized in. But they're also dropping manga, like anime style manga around this stuff. They've got a community that has like a story arc going through it with the NFTs. There's gamification of the NFTs itself. So there's some really it's more than just like buy token, lock it up, earn a reward. It's buy these NFTs that are going to have additional functionality going forward, stake them, lock them up, earn these tokens that have functionality within their gaming ecosystem, and then also you get to use these, see these NFTs take place in like these storylines and manga and games and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I love this interweaving of multiple like sectors, but also multiple ideas, layering of unique features that will make something that we hadn't seen in previous cycles. But yeah, there's other ones too that are just staking, like Xborg is a gaming play, a gaming identity play, and then Peak is a layer 1 for DePINs, has some specific like machine tag type stuff on their blockchain that is really catered to DePIN space. And then both of those are just like staking. Peak, for example, like staking to a validator and earning a few percent.
I gotta say, there's so much research I have to do on all of these plays that you mentioned. Finally, like, where can people learn more about your channel, connect with you online?
So obviously, there's the YouTube channel. Just type in your friend Andy into YouTube, and if you go on my main page, you can also find my podcast, which I'm about to get some more episodes going over there. You can also find me on Twitter. I've got a newsletter, and I've got my membership, Sleep Money Club. But just check out the YouTube channel, watch there, and if you like what you see, you can find the links to all the other places from there.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, finally, everyone go engage with your friend Andy on YouTube, online. Go definitely listen to his podcast. I know I'm going to be binging it so I can find out all the great plays for this upcoming bull run. And let's continue building the future of Web3.